What happens when you lose that $5 million deal? What happens, like myself, when you lose the battle for your children's health and they die? Do you know what to do with that kind of pain? What do you do when you have to say goodbye to your mother who's on hospice for cancer? These are real life things. And so when we think about thinking, organizing, and choosing, when we don't have a system for it, it is draining our energy. It's pulling energy away from being able to make decisions. And I hear my high performers out there going, yeah, but I just want to go, 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 go. I want to push through. I don't have time to feel things. And I can tell you, if you don't make time, your body will make time.
I am mentally strong, learn it, live it, level up, regardless what life brings. I will live mentally strong.
Many mentally strong people would consider themselves a survivor. But I can tell you that not all survivors are mentally strong. Oftentimes I hear people telling their story of surviving, and they literally are just doing that. They are surviving. They don't know how they're doing it. They are living day by day. They are demonstrating grit and resilience, which are characteristics of mental strength. But they are often hitting a capacity limit. They're having trouble finding joy and happiness. So if you have survived something in your life, this message is for you. I'm Dr. B. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner with over 25 years of clinical experience. I help people with tremendous stories of pain. But I have experienced excruciating pain. I have lost 3 children and my husband over the course of 20 years. So I don't just stand here and teach some textbook, theory on how to be mentally strong. I had the knowledge. Many survivors go through something and then go to school to learn how to work through this, cope with this, work through the grief and the trauma and all that stuff. I had the knowledge before. 25 years I've been a nurse practitioner. And when I was at my capacity limit, I had a son die in a drowning accident in 2005. Shortly after, my son Reggie started having catastrophic epilepsy. He lived a very medically traumatic life. And I was at my capacity limit. I have read all of the books. I do the prayer and the meditation. I do the trauma work. I do all the things. And I'm still hitting a capacity limit because we don't teach a system of mental strength. And that's what I do. I teach the foundational system. So whatever you're using to work through surviving what happened to you, I can give you a system underneath it. I work specifically with elite performers, and many times they have spent, and I know you're listening, you have spent your life focusing on what you want, what your goals are, and you know what you're doing and you're moving forward in that. But there's other areas of your life that you're not feeling fulfilled. Maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's with your children, maybe it's with your health. Or maybe you've put everything into your health and you haven't put anything into other areas, right? Because you know you're a survivor. You know you have grit and resilience and you are pushing through. This will not break you. I can hear that narrative in your head. I won't let this break me. But if you're being honest with yourself, you have had moments where you've hit a capacity limit, that you can't grow anymore, that whatever these weights are that you're carrying are becoming heavier. Maybe you don't even feel the weight anymore. Someone I worked with recently said, I didn't even realize how much weight of the things I survived in my childhood were still that I was still carrying around because I had been carrying it for so long, I didn't feel it. That is a survivor. You should be proud to be a survivor. But what I teach is that next level of, can you find joy and happiness in every area of your life? Can you increase capacity? No matter what happens to you, you will be able to handle it with poise, joy, respect, happiness. Oftentimes, someone will say to me, if I lost a child, I'm done. I'm out. I don't want you to say those kinds of things to yourself. I want you to know, and I hope nothing bad happens to you, but we all will have things that we have to survive. Are you ready? Do you know how to build true mental strength? Or have you just been a survivor? You want to learn how to build true mental strength, work with me directly. Click the link in the description, and that'll take you on a journey to really understand what I teach. So, in the midst of my grief and trauma, so my son was having catastrophic epilepsy, I developed what I call the mentally strong method. And that's what I teach. That is true mental strength. So yes, I want you to stop for a moment and think about what you've survived. And as you're thinking about what you've survived, I want you to think about, how did you do it? Many times I will ask people that and they're like, I don't know. I just did it. And this is also what happens with the generational gap. Let's say you have employees or your children and they're going through something and you're just like, well, you just got to push through. You got to have grit. You got to have resilience. Figure it out. I did. But you don't even know how you did it because you just survived. And so when you're working through the mentally strong method, it is a foundation for everything. So, my business people out there, you know what a flywheel is, right? We talk about flywheels in business all the time. If you're an engineer, you know what flywheels are. Flywheels are systems that once they gain momentum, so it's like a bicycle wheel, right? Once that bicycle wheel starts, you get the pedaling and you get the balance down and you start pedaling, it goes by itself. Yes, you still have to gently pedal. And when you're going uphill, you have to pedal harder, but the momentum is there. That's what the mentally strong method is. It is a flywheel for your mental strength, for your mental health. We're all on a mental health journey. I'm not saying a mental illness journey. We're all on a mental health journey. And if you could have a system for that and know what you need to do, why you're doing it, and how to do it, not only can you help yourself, you will know how to communicate with others. So, what is the mentally strong method? It is this system, this flywheel. Remember, I talked about it being a flywheel of thinking through your problems, organizing them, and making decisions in line with what you want, even when things are not going your way, right? That sounds like a simple business flywheel, right? Think, organize, choose, think, organize, choose. But what happens when things don't go the way that you want? What happens when you lose that $5 million deal? What happens, like myself, when you lose the battle for your children's health and they die? Do you know what to do with that kind of pain? What do you do when you have to say goodbye to your mother who's on hospice for cancer? These are real life things. And so when we think about thinking, organizing, and choosing, when we don't have a system for it, it is draining our energy. It's pulling energy away from being able to make decisions. And I hear my high performers out there going, yeah, but I just want to go, 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 go. I want to push through. I don't have time to feel things. And I can tell you, if you don't make time, your body will make time. Think about that for a minute. If you don't make time, your body will make time. Have you ever been pushing through so much and then you get sick and you're out for 3 to 5 days? The same thing happens mentally. When you don't deal with whatever thoughts, feelings, emotions, weights that you're carrying, if you don't actually learn how to process those and you carry them for a long period of time, it will impact you. It will impact your ability to make decisions. It will impact your ability to pay attention and focus. It will show up in your mental health journey. You will not find time for joy and happiness. So I teach the mentally strong method: think, organize, choose. If you could think, organize, and choose, what would that actually do for you? Well, we all think we know how to think. I'm like, I think about my problems all the time. I make choices all the time. We know that we need to make good choices. Sometimes we don't make the choices that we know we should make. Why? Right? This is the piece that's missing for a lot of people, is the organizational piece. What do you do with some of those thoughts and feelings? Do you know what to do with them? Now, I created the mentally strong method after having all the knowledge. A lot of survivors go, back to school and they're like, oh, I've got to figure out how to, work through this. I already had all the knowledge. I had been to school for 8 years. I had read all the self-development books. I had a meditation and prayer practice. Like, I had all of those things, and it wasn't enough because me, like so many people listening, hit a capacity limit. How do you know you've hit a capacity limit? When you feel overwhelmed, when you feel like I can't deal with my thoughts and feelings and I need to just focus on work, or I'm going to avoid my thoughts and feelings because, work or performance is where I excel. But if you could learn a system, you'll actually excel and perform even better. So let's get out of a survivor mindset and let's get into a mentally strong mindset. And oftentimes when we think of mental strength, we do think of the things like grit and resilience. We think of, famous people who have that inspirational survival stories, and you're like, wow, they're doing it. But how? How are they doing it? This is where I separate. I figured out how, and I can teach you. I had someone come to me recently, kind of in a crisis mode. And not everybody that I work with is in crisis when they come to me. But he was in crisis mode and just really feeling like he needs like immediate help. And he's like, I don't want to do your program. It sounds like too much work. And yes, it is work. I'm going to hold you accountable to some work. But this is your journey. And I teach self-agency. There is no single thing that will rescue you from your crisis. Finding the internal strength to have that self-agency, to learn a system so that when you do choose an intervention, that intervention is going to be so much more powerful because you have the self-agency. You know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what to expect. So at the end of my programs, you know how to think. And thinking, efficient thinking produces clarity, doesn't produce more thinking. This is what often happens. And this is what avoiders are like. I don't want to think because I just think and then it's in the forefront and I'm thinking and then it's worse, right? True efficient thinking produces clarity, right? And then when we have clarity, we can organize those pieces and take out pieces and know what you're going to do with those pieces, right? So let's say you're following some guru and they're saying, "Oh, do this one thing and your life will be different." And I can tell you, I've done all the programs. And yes, I have felt a shift and I have learned something from many of these programs. But until I had a system of what I was doing and why, it was only temporary relief, right? You need to understand what true mental strength is. And so efficient thinking equals clarity. When you can organize what's going on, that way, when you do something about it, you're actually producing increase in capacity. That capacity and practice in that capacity produces confidence, right? I can confidently say, I am mentally strong. No matter what happens in my life, I will be able to think through it, organize it, and make decisions in line with what I want. I'm not saying it's going to be easy though. And I continue to have to do this. This is why it's a flywheel. It is not something that you do once, although my programs are only 90 days because I give you the self-agency to do this forever, right? This flywheel of thinking, organizing, making choices. And if you continue that flywheel, you will increase in your capacity, increase in your confidence, and know how to build that mental strength. It's the foundational system. I hope you join me to learn it. Click the link in the description. It'll take you on a journey to work directly with me. I hope to see you there.